Now I'm going to show you how to customize an individual element selector in Boozang. Boozang uses natural language for element selection, so it's a proprietary way to find elements in your user interface. And the reason why it uses natural language is that many modern frameworks are of course using dynamic classes or classes that vary or IDs that are completely random, so we don't rely on IDs and classes. You can of course base your selector by customizing them on classes and IDs, but we try to base the selector on what's being shown in the interface so that aligns our test with the way a manual tester would test it. Basically, fill out first name. That's why you see here the element selector in this example. I'm going to close the execution view. You see it says fill first name with parameter first name, fill last name with parameter last name. If we want to customize this, you will go into the element selector box and hit this edit pen, and that's going to open up the DOM picker. And this is a little bit new. It's very, very powerful in Boozang, but for people that are used to Selenium and other languages, this is going to be a little bit novel. The way you can do it is that you will click on a certain element here, and it's going to take whatever you selected and go up the tree, and you can see what's being selected in the application window. And then if you want this to be added to the path, you'll hit the checkbox. Inside an individual selector that you've selected, you can now use different method. For instance, after, before, which is just used to say after this element or before this element. You have contains, which is to say look for this string inside this element. And then you also have the near selector, which is a custom selector that we use to find elements in a form or a checkbox to match labels with elements. And the best way to figure this out is to experiment. But one thing I can show you is that, for instance, if we have an input box like this, we select it and we see that it's good. As you can see, it says it's unique and it's 9 milliseconds to find. And then of course, if I would choose a different method here, like for instance an after method, I can see the speed is being recalculated, but I can still see it's being unique. So here you can play around by customizing the particular path. What you want to do often is that after you customize the path, you want to double click and make sure that it's still working, that it still finds the element. And also, you also want to make sure that it says it's unique. Another thing that could be interesting to do is that when you change a single thing here, for instance, if I put in last name here, I can actually try and automatically match the method. So I'm going to hit the refresh for the method now, and you know what it tells me. If it's last name, but it's this element I want to get, it will tell me that's the element before. The before selector will be the recommended selector to use. So this way, if you want to basically locate this element that you've selected based on this label, you can simply just type it into text and click refresh to auto-generate the method. And the other way around, if you want to auto-generate the string, let's say I will use after, I can now auto-generate the string. I should use first name as the selector. So try and play around with this. Learn about the selectors. It's very, very powerful selectors. And also, if you want to use attributes like class or ID, you can simply click these checkboxes for any single, like the input. You will see any classes or IDs or other attributes being shown here. And you can, of course, add them to your selector if needed.